came to the point in the remodel where it was time to reinstall my commode. The old toilet I had here was what we call a 12-inch rough-in, which means from the center of this flange, this is a sponge that's just keeping fumes from coming up from the sewer. But from the center of this toilet flange to the back wall is normally set at 12 inches. And that's why you call a 12-inch rough-in, and that's the toilet you buy with a 12-inch rough-in. Mine wouldn't fit because I lost about 1 inch. Mine is measuring 11 1/8 inches from this point to the back wall. So I'm about approximately 1 inch short. The problem probably came in when I added the beadboard to the back wall, which took up a 1/2 inch. And it could be this model toilet that I bought, which is a little bit larger than the old one. So you have two options. You can actually break out this flange, and that's a pretty tedious job. You would actually go in here and you would cut this flange into multiple pieces and break it out. And you would hope they didn't glue it quite as well and it would come out easy. If not, it could be a more difficult job. And what you would do is once you broke it out, you would reinstall a new flange here called an offset that actually moves this hole 2 inches further to the front. The other option you have is to get an actual 10-inch rough-in commode, and with the 11 1/8 inches here, a 10-inch would work fine, and that's the easier option. So I went back and bought what they call a 10-inch rough-in commode to reinstall here, and that's what we're going to do today. So just keep that in mind when you're buying your replacement commodes. Check your clearance. You don't have 12 inches and you have to go with a 10-inch. And out of all the models they had in the big box store, only one model was a 10-inch. All the others were 12. So pay attention to it when you're buying your replacement commode. We finished the remodel of our bathroom. We're ready now to reinstall the commode. And it's a pretty easy job to do here. We're just going to put the bolts in here. So these little plastic tabs here hold the bolts in place so that they don't move when you're pushing the toilet down on top of it. These bolts should be equal distance from the back wall over here. And this one's roughly 10 1/8. This one's roughly 10 1/4. So I'll push it back up a little bit, and that should be about right. So that gives me a toilet when it sits on it. When these bolts are equal distance from the wall, the toilet sits perpendicular to the wall and is straight. I'm going to pull this sponge out, then we're going to get ready. We're going to set the toilet on top here. We're going to put the wax ring underneath the toilet, and we're going to set the whole thing down on top of the toilet flange. Okay, we have the toilet turned upside down. And what I'm getting ready to do is put the wax ring on here. And we're going to pick the whole toilet up, flip it over, and put it onto the mounting bolts on top of the toilet flange. It is called wax ring. Just take it out of here. It's kind of sticky. You want to use this paper so you don't get it all over your hands. This is the cone that faces down on the floor, so we're upside down here, so that goes upright right there. You just center the wax ring on this hole in the commode. Kind of push it down there, just get it to hold on there to stick. So it's on there pretty good, so when I turn it over, it doesn't fall. Now we're ready to go ahead and set the commode right on top of the flange that's on the floor. And we have the toilet, went over the two bolts, and now we're just going to press down on it. Flatten the wax ring. Just rock it a little bit. It sits flush on the floor like that. That should be it. These little plastic pieces here, they hold these plastic caps on. So we're going to put them underneath the washer. So we're going to put that on first. Then we're going to put the metal washer on. Then we're going to put the lock nut. Okay, now you want to tighten these down. You don't want to tighten them down too much. Get them snug, but you don't want to tighten them down or wind up breaking the ceramic part. It's pretty good. It's not rocking or anything, so it's on there pretty good. So now what we're going to do is, once I finish everything else, I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to cut this off with a hacksaw right here. And then the cap will fit on top of it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get the water tank ready. All of the guts are already installed in by the manufacturer, so pretty easy setup. We have the hardware to bolt the tank to the base of the commode. It's just going to be 2 washers and two wing nuts. We have the gasket that goes on here. It just slips right on. That keeps the water from leaking from the tank out of the tank. This is going to seal against the base of the commode. If you have a pipe that's going to stab in here, you go ahead and use this connector for your incoming water. It has a nut on it, a bushing, and a rubber seal. We're not going to use that. We're going to get it out of the way. I'm using one of these stainless steel hoses that you buy at the stores. And it just threads on. I'm going to go ahead and put it on now because it's easier to do it here than reaching underneath there later. It has a rubber grommet already built into it that seals. You don't have to over tighten it too much because if you do a snap like that, yeah, that's all we need to do right there. Okay, we're ready to mount the tank. Okay, we're ready to install the water tank. I'm going to stab these bolts into these back holes. Okay, the tank just balances on there and then we hold it down. Install this washer and this bolt On each side, there's 2 of them. It's probably pretty hard to see that on the camera, but it's just 2 wing nuts. Check and see that my tank is level across the back here, which it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it down. Just hand tighten these wing nuts. What I'm doing is I'm pushing down on the tank to kind of compress that rubber gasket while I'm tightening the wing nut by hand. It's on there. That should be plenty good enough. All I have left to do is put my water line. This has a rubber gasket already in here, so all we need to do is put it on here and connect the water supply line just a little bit. Kind of shake it a little bit, get the tension out of it. So just get it lined up and you just screw it right down. Go ahead and put the tall seat on, would be finished. These have some little profiles that go into these open areas here, so they just fit on there. Just press it down on there and it holds it on. And put the tall seat in place. I'll drop these little plastic pieces in here facing up. Pick the other one up. Put it in place. I'm going to drop the bolts through there. And on the bottom we're going to have a washer and the nut. And when we finish tightening it, we'll put the cap on top. Little cover caps on it, just snap on. Okay, we're ready to turn the water on and see how she works. We're just going to check and look for leaks anywhere. don't see no leaks anywhere, so. So all we have left is to get a hacksaw and cut our bolts off and put our caps on there and we're finished. Here's a final shot of the clearance between the beadboard and the commode itself. You have about 1.5 inch clearance between the lid and the wall, and that looks pretty good. And this is based on a 10-inch rough end toilet. So from the wall to the center of the toilet flange, it fits a 10-inch toilet. The 12-inch toilet, when I try to put it in, this back of this water tank was hitting against the wall and it wouldn't sit on the back of the toilet correctly. So getting the 10-inch rough end was a good alternative. Gave me enough room to put the toilet in place without any problems. And we're going to go ahead and cut our bolt off so we can put this cap on and be finished. Cut it about halfway. Let's see if we can break the rest of it. Not yet. So you can cut it about halfway, then break it off. Go ahead and get the cuttings off of there. And that takes care of that. Project is done.